What is up? I am John Hansen here at FANTASYPOINTS.com. And before this 2023 NFL draft kicks off, I just wanted to go on the record and isolate several players, skilled players, who I feel I am much higher on than the markets, if you will, or the consensus, or at least a little higher on than normal. No one needs to tell you out there, Mr. Viewer, Mrs. Viewer, that Bijan Robinson's good. So here are a couple of guys that stand out. Now, I will start with a big name, and it's Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida. I've been very outspoken on this guy and vocal. Why? Because I see an opportunity, and the physical freakishness of this player combined with a natural feel for the game and poise really, really bode well as far as I'm concerned. I didn't get a chance to interact with him at the combine, but I did observe him. I was 2-3 feet away from him at his combine, at his podium, and I thought he came across pretty well. I'm hearing mostly good things, couple of shaky interviews perhaps, but overall, I have a superstar vibe on Anthony Richardson. And given the elite potential throwing the rock, he is an accurate quarterback. He's just not consistently accurate, but he can be with good coaching. Given the elite talent throwing the ball and running it, I've said that he has the most upside in the history of fantasy football. I know that's a bold statement, but I draw the comparison to Lamar Jackson. I was at his podium when he was being challenged and questioned about whether or not he's a quarterback, and 2 years later, he won the MVP as a quarterback. So things change quickly. Life comes at you quickly here, so don't be shocked if Anthony Richardson is just taking over the league in a couple of years. Next, it's Zay Flowers, who I did not, unfortunately, meet at the Combine, but just today, actually, April 26th, I did get a selfie sent to me with Zay Flowers. And shout out to Dennis Roy, by the way, a Sirius XM listener who knows I'm a big Zay Flowers guy, and I guess he was at an event today with Zay Flowers. So he took a selfie with him to send to me. But this dude is a baller, played all 4 years there at Boston College. I like the fact that he's from Florida, and he's like, yeah, I'm good with the cold. I can go anywhere. So we like that. 36% of his team's receiving yards last year, 57% of his touchdowns, the team's touchdowns, seventh most in FBS last year. I see Antonio Brown. I know he's worked out with Antonio Brown. I had that comp before I even learned about that. Apparently, AB and him were working on tracking the deep ball. Been around the guy a little bit. Really good vibe. I don't think he's going to, go the route of AB, let's say. Next up at running back. Now, we did get a worrisome medical report on this guy in terms of his ACL, the condition of his ACL. Does he even have an ACL? But Tajay Spears was unbelievable in Mobile for 3 days of practice. I was there, saw it with my own two eyes. And then at the Combine, I chopped it up with Tajay. Good dude, explosive, great acceleration. He's got speed, vision. He's like a maestro out there. He reacts. He's got great contact balance. Very much an instinctual player. 15 rushing touchdowns last year, led the American Conference to the ninth most there since 2017. He's lining up in the Wildcat, high school quarterback. I mean, the guy can do it all. Hopefully the knee checks out, but I love me some Tajay Spears. Also at running back, moving on to another guy I did chop it up with at the Combine. Now, it's not a coincidence that I interviewed a lot of these guys because I sought them out, and they're not the primary stars who I don't tend to get, unfortunately, like a Bijan Robinson. But this running back, I really loved him and loved the tape. Requested the interview with Izzy Abanikanda out of Pittsburgh, who happened to grow up in Brooklyn, New York, on like literally the same street that I used to live at way back in the 70s when I was a kid. From Nigeria, really like this guy. He's an ascending player. He's going to start out probably as an early down back, but does have really nice upside, I think, in the passing game. I could see him being a real threat on, screens and dump offs and things like that once he gets some reps under him. But, very nice combination, very intriguing combination of a sustaining runner with home run hitting speed. So you like the burst and the acceleration there. And again, great kid, Izzy Abanikanda, could end up being drafted a little earlier than people think on day 2. Next up, I have a tight end here, and he is not considered among even the top 5 tight ends in this very, very good class, but I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and I was impressed. I was like, damn, this dude can move really well. And then it turns out at the Combine, a day after him and I chopped it up in an interview, of course I requested him too, he ran faster than any other tight end in Indy, and that is Will Mallory out of the U, who's a very explosive athlete. He's really, really fast. He's got very good ball skills, and he's a good route runner. I don't know, he's a willing blocker. He's pretty nasty, but he's a thin dude here. But 49 receiving yards last year, 5th most for an ACC tight end since 2017. Nice sleeper there in Will Mallory. Another guy that I interviewed, and again, I set these up ahead of time because these were my guys, Rashee Rice. I know our guy Brett Whitefield loves him some Rashee Rice as well. I actually quoted the Fantasy Points prospect guide to Rashee Rice, and he loved it. The words of Brett Whitefield, he's about that action all the time and all, whatever the phrase is. I have a mental block with that, but it's something like that. He's all about that action. And it's true because he might not be a burner, but he is a physical player who wins that way, and he can separate a little bit here with some play speed, and he was looking real nice to me watching him in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. Also a really good kid, so he's a sneaky guy. He's like a possession receiver plus, teamed well with a solid number 2, ideally a guy who can run. Next up here, another Senior Bowl guy. I did not interact with this guy whatsoever. Our paths were not destined to cross, if you will, but I watched Jaden Reed at a Michigan State for 3 days, and the kid was damn good at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Inside, outside versatility. He'll probably be like a 4th round pick, maybe a 3rd. But he's a sneaky good 3 straight years with at least a 24% target share there at Michigan State. Moving on here, John Hansen on the Fantasy Points YouTube page, popping out before the draft. We want to get this time stamped. My guys, the skill players that I look at everyone else's rankings and the consensus out there, and I isolate them as, well, these are my guys because I like them more than the masses, than the markets. Another tight end coming at you next here, Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State, another Senior Bowl guy. I really do believe he's got the most complete package in this class. And that's a pretty bold statement, but very good traits, size, athletic, moves well. He's got the ability. The big litmus test at tight end is, can you line up on the outside in the NFL and beat man coverage? And Luke Musgrave, I believe, can do that. And he has the ability to be a very, very good run blocker. So a complete tight end, which is really what you want to be. All the great ones are complete tight ends. Travis Kelce has seen his blocking improve and get better and better as the career has gone by. Another Senior Bowl guy is next. Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss. He'll probably be, 4th rounder or something like that, early day 3. But I really liked his tape. I liked him at the Senior Bowl. He was rock solid. I chopped it up with him at the Combine. Nice dude. Pretty serious, but hey, that's fine. He really embraced the Ole Miss legacy of these big receivers, and told me that DK Metcalf and AJ Brown really took him under the wing, and I think he's got a little Deebo Samuel in him, a big dude who can move. Career high 29% of his team's receiving yards last year, and a touchdown per target rate of 6% or better in 3 straight years. Another wide receiver that I did a nice little sit-down interview with for SiriusXM at the Combine this year, Josh Downs, wide receiver out of North Carolina. Very thin dude. I was like, because his tape shows him putting his body on the line to make plays. He just goes out there and balls. His dad, Gary Downs, played in the NFL. And I was like, you might want to slow that roll a little bit in the NFL. He was like, yeah, because the dudes are a lot bigger. He's a very svelte guy, but a high-volume guy there at North Carolina. An 81% catch rate last year, 2nd best in NCAA among wide receivers with at least 100 targets, and he was money in the red zone, scored in a variety of ways. 9.5% touchdown rate, 7th best among FBS wide receivers with at least 100 targets in 2022. A couple of more for you here. My guys, the guys I like more than the masses here in this skill class. Michael Wilson out of Stanford, yet another Senior Bowl guy, very experienced guy. That's why he was at the Senior Bowl, but he was really impressive. Red zone drills especially. He was just kind of all over the place. 70.2 receiving yards last year, 3rd highest for a Stanford wide receiver since 2017, and a 33% touchdown share in his active games last year, to my point about the red zone prowess. And then last but not least, very good dude, Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. Talk with him about his pops playing in the NFL. I got a real Michael Pittman vibe from him, who I loved several years ago. In terms of like been there, done that with the dad, playing in the league and all that. Not a guy who's going to get a lot of yards after the catch. He's strictly an outside X receiver, as he told me, but he's a good one. And he can move pretty well. I mean, not a burner here. He's a 2. He's a little boring, but touchdowns. So that's where it could come down to him making a solid impact, real solid. 14% touchdown per target rate in 2021, 5th highest for an SEC wide receiver since 2017. We did see Jalen Hyde emerge last year. Tillman was banged up for a lot of the year. I believe that was an ankle injury, but real nice player, and he rounds out the list. I had a couple of guys who didn't make the cut. Roschon Johnson comes to mind. A couple of other receivers that I didn't want to belabor the point here, but I think I narrowed this down to it's a little over 10. These are my guys, planting the flag on these guys. Certainly other players here in this draft that I like, but these are the players that I definitely like more than the masses. Thank you for tuning. Make sure you're subscribing to the feed. Tell your friends. All the good stuff here. We're just getting started in 2022.